Welcome to the 2023 Concord mayoral debate. I'm Tony Shinella, the editor of Concord, New Hampshire Patch. Thanks for being with us. This event is being sponsored by Patch as well as Concord TV. We're in their great studios and have really appreciate all the hard work they've done in our series of forums this year. It's also co-sponsored by the New England Take podcast. During the next 30 minutes or so, you're going to hear from two of the three candidates who are on the ballot. They'll both have opening and closing statements of about 60 seconds. And then I'll ask them each the same question back and forth about some of the issues facing the city. Let's get to meet our two candidates. On the ballot, we have Byron Champlin and George Jack. Caitlin West is also on the ballot. She was repeatedly invited to participate in this forum and chose not to respond, which is why she is not here. And the gentleman before us can attest to that since they were CC'd on all of the emails to Ms. West. We did a coin toss, so did something different this time. We did a coin toss for who was going to start first, and that will be George. George, you have 1 minute opening statement.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks for having me, Tony, and thanks to my opponent, Byron. It's great to be here. Great to meet you finally. And I am George Jack. I'm about a 20-year resident of Concord, New Hampshire. I just became a homeowner last year in Concord, New Hampshire, and I'm excited to be here. I've been a citizen for a long time, concerned about the issues, but it's a beautiful city. I love it here. When I learned that the mayor's race was going to be, when the mayor was going to not run again, I thought, what a great opportunity to throw my hat in the ring and get even more and more involved in the community. I want to make Concord a boutique city and do all kinds of great things with an already great city that I want to help us realize amazing potential in the city. And that's why I'm here running for mayor. I'm so excited to be here. I've been a competitive eating champion. I've been a longtime customer service manager. I've been a remote employee, always living in Concord for all that time. I've been a reader of #1 audiobooks. I've been the best I've ever been at anything I've ever done, except play basketball. I'm, that kind of thing. But basically, I promise to work hard for the citizens of Concord should you elect me mayor.
Excellent, thank you. Byron, you have a minute and a little more, please.
I yield the balance.
Well, frankly, I'm impressed being here with an competitive eating champion. But I'm gratified that your skills at basketball are the same as mine. I'm Byron Champlin. I want to thank Concord Patch and Concord TV for this opportunity to address the voters. I also want to thank George for being here and for running. I've been a resident of Concord for 40 years. My wife, Susie, and I raised our two daughters, Emma and Madeline, here. And now Emma's sons, my grandsons, are in Concord schools. During the time I've been in Concord, I've done everything from chairing the board at the Chamber of Commerce and chairing the board at the Capitol Center for the Arts to coaching rec league basketball, which was a challenge since I am a challenged basketball player, as I said. I worked for 27 years for Lincoln Financial Group and its predecessor companies in Concord, both in corporate philanthropy and in marketing communications. Prior to that, I worked for 3 years for Colby Sawyer College as their director of public relations, and for 7 years in the State House as the public information officer for the House of Representatives. Before that, I did everything from waiting on tables to cleaning stalls. I've been on the city council for 10 years. During that time, I've served Ward 4 as their councilor for half of the time, and I've been an at-large councilor for the second half, serving on a number of committees, currently on the Fiscal Policy Advisory Committee and the Concord Energy and Environment Advisory Committee as vice chair.
Excellent, thank you both. I think that you will both agree that you have pretty big shoes to fill with the exit of Mayor Boulay, not only just because he was the mayor for so long, but he's been kind of an institution on the council for about a quarter of a century. Along with the new mayor, there's going to be at least 4 new city councilors that one of you will have to deal with, maybe more. And a number of residents have suggested to me, and this is why I'm saying that I'm rephrasing the question that's similar, that there really is a sense of urgency that there will be stability on the council. So Byron, let's go with you first. What three things will you do to ensure that there are stable council proceedings and governance during the next 2 years if you're elected mayor?
That's a great question, Tony. Thanks for asking it. My intention would be to, first of all, follow the precedent of collegiality that Mayor Boulay has maintained, certainly during my 10 years on City Council, and I think throughout. I am a good listener. As I've canvassed in the city, people have continuously told me, repeatedly told me, that I will listen. I may not always agree with what they say, but I'll always give them time to hear them out. And that would be the foundation and the basis of my presiding over the City Council. I spoke with a former school board member a few weeks ago who told me that former school district superintendent Chris Rath had used an ice-breaking method of getting the new school board members to meet each other, to understand how to work together. And I've considered that possibility as well during our strategy setting session, which generally takes place in January. So all of those things are things that I would do to encourage collegiality. I'd always also just say that I've also had coffee with most of the candidates, not only the sitting councilors with whom I already have working relationships, but also many of the candidates who are running for the first time in order to get to know them, to get to understand what their ambitions are, get to understand what their priorities are should they be elected to City Council.
Excellent. Thank you. George?
So a long time ago, I read a business book called The Customer Driven Company by Richard C. Whiteley. Mr. Whiteley wrote a book about FedEx and their business model. And the chapter that stood out to me most was one that involved treating your colleagues like internal customers. If you do great things for your colleagues, they will treat you the same way, and you can make the machine work wonderfully well. So you can view, not to view the City Hall chambers or the City Council chambers as a workplace, but it is a workplace. Everyone's working for the same goal to further the aspirations and the potential of Concord. So a great workplace is fostered by communication. We need to make sure that everyone's communicating. When I talk to the City Council members, new or long tenured, I would ask, why are you here? I want to know what's going on. What do you want to get out of your tenure here? What can we do together to make Concord great? So communication, I want to, and we could have coffee, we could have cocoa, cider, whatever. Maybe they don't want coffee. Maybe it's a different drink, but treating everyone like internal customers, fostering communication and making sure that everyone's voices are heard. When we're working on things together, I want everyone to have a stake in what's going on, and that's how I'll foster a really super effective city council as mayor.
There's a number of times when I've wanted to step in and have beer summits with some of the elected officials. Byron, it's been pretty good about meeting with people. Quick follow-up, George, 15 seconds. What's your biggest fear if you win?
Not being able to walk down the street and not be being recognized by thousands more people. I guess I don't have a fear. I'm excited about winning, but I guess that would be that. But everyone, actually, if you recognize me, say hello, Mr. Mayor, how you doing? And I'll say, what can I do for you?
Byron, what's your biggest fear if you win?
I don't think I have a fear. I guess no. I don't. I mean, I've been sitting on City Council for 10 years, so I kind of know the drill and I know how it runs. And frankly, I like people stopping me on the street and telling me what's going on. And I've already had a few people phone me telling me what issues they want to be addressed if I'm mayor.
Excellent. It's good to know that neither of you are scared of anything. Byron, during our debate series, several candidates have mentioned the need to fully appoint a board of ethics, and actually one of the biggest things that the mayor does is appoint a number of committees. Recently, an activist in the community submitted a lengthy list of dozens of people and requested that they be nominated to the city's diversity committee. That request, though, challenges the process that's set in charter for the mayor to make appointments to boards. Give us an idea on how you would tackle committee assignments.
Well,
in a minute, please.
In a minute. Well, there we go. That's another good question. I think the process we have for appointing members to committee is a very good process. Most people don't know how it works. Essentially, somebody who's interested in a committee sends a letter of interest and a resume to the city clerk. City clerk forwards that to the mayor. The mayor reviews it. and it is forwarded to the City Council for the City Council's review, and then we have a vote on it. It's submitted to the City Council first so that it can be kind of vetted by the entire body. And I think that's a very good process. I think it's fine that community groups or individuals suggest people for committees. I would look forward to having people feed suggestions, as well as my own experience working with people in the community to surface strong candidates to serve on our committees. Strong candidates who represent a broad spectrum of our citizens and
Excellent.
voters.
Thank you. George?
Well, it's always the people will tell you what they want. If they want a different process by which people are assigned to committees, we'll take that under advisement, absolutely. If the tried and true method is what's working, that's great. I think people need to be vetted seriously, no matter what the process is. So, that's what I would do. If the institutional thing is working, great. I'll need to review it when I get into office. But absolutely, if people can't just demand to be on a committee, of course. But if they want to be on a committee, we want to outreach to them and say, why do you want to be on this committee? What are the issues you want to tackle as a member of this committee, and so forth. So everything's in progress. We want to listen to the people and give them what they want. So, but hopefully they'll listen and say, well, we also need to adhere to this process as well. It's working, but please engage with us. We're looking forward to working with you.
Quick follow-up, George. It's been insinuated by a person who actually is a native of the city that the charter and its procedures and policies are, quote, tenets of white supremacy, unquote. Do you agree or disagree with that statement, and why?
I don't agree with that statement, and I wouldn't see why the charter or any other document of the city has any sort of white supremacist rhetoric in it. I would invite whoever is saying that or accusing that to look at the charter and tell me what about this document says that there is white supremacist rhetoric or ideals in here. And if they feel that way, it's because of a lack of understanding. And I want to help educate them and make them more comfortable, relaxed, and confident in the document.
Thank you. Byron?
No, I don't think it is. I think, on the other hand, that we do need, as part of our diversity, equity, inclusion, and what I'm going to call our belonging process, which Mayor Boulay started, that we do need to look at inadvertent obstacles to all of our citizens participating in our processes, in our committees, in our city government, in our community, and where possible, remove those barriers. But I think that's a community process that needs to take place.
Thank you. Housing is one of the biggest problems facing the city, and it has been for a while. However, there's about 3,000 new units that are either scheduled or planned to be built in the city sometime in the next 7 years, different stages of hundreds of years, and 60 over there. Specifically, Byron, if elected, what will you do in the next 2 years to tackle the housing problem?
Well, I think we already, as you know, we already have about 3,000 units that are either under construction, permitted, or in the process. And so, we already have a leg up, although we do need a lot more housing. The city has an important role to play to facilitate developments. One great example of this is the proposed Dakota Partners project on Old Loudon Road, which would provide 98 units of housing, 88 of them workforce housing. Right now, they have about a $2 million funding gap, and the city is working in two ways to help them fill that funding gap. One is through the Community Development Advisory Committee to apply for community development block rate grant funding to fill that gap, and the other is that the city city council voted at its last meeting to authorize city administration to apply for state funding to help fill the other half of that $2 million gap. So I think the city has to look for ways to facilitate projects, but also to look at possible obstacles or delays in construction. Because right now, time is everything. We don't know where the economy is going to go in the near future. We need to identify the projects that we really feel are a priority, and we need to facilitate having those projects go through to construction.
Excellent. Thank you. George?
So we need to look at what projects will help the most people in the shortest amount of time. But if there's a gap in funding, then we need to see what else we can do to encourage funding for that. We need to be able to encourage landlords and owners of storefronts to help people to open businesses and more businesses and fill those storefronts so we can get more income coming into the city. And in that way, hopefully we can fill in the gaps to facilitate more construction, more housing. So we need to look at what's going to help the most amount of people in the least amount of time and figure out that and adjust contracts, timelines, everything. We want to make sure that we get the funding, overcome the obstacles, and help the most people in the least amount of time.
Thank you. The City Council for a while now has held property taxes to around 3%. Last year it was a little under 4%. Some people have, there's been a number of issues trying to keep that contained. But there's also a new solid waste contract that could potentially raise property taxes by millions of dollars in the fiscal 2025 budget cycle. George, what would you do to tackle both the trash, solid waste issues, as well as keeping the property tax rate at its kind of normal 3 to 4%?
Sure. So it's back to fostering starting businesses. What I want to do is create an office or a department in the city where people can come, so we can have landlords that want to fill their offices or their spaces with business owners and businesses. Actively invite them like a job fair. Anyone that wants to open a business, have them meet landlords and fill those storefronts. Downtown Pennacook has lots of empty storefronts that they're basically not generating any kind of revenue whatsoever. The more business that we can encourage to thrive in Concord and Pennacook and all the wards and open, that will help drive revenue into the city and ideally keep property taxes down or the same. A lot of people say to me that they want to get rid of the purple bags. They hate the trash bags that the Concord residents have to use. One thing I want to do is see what can offset the cost of those bags. Right now they're manufactured out of state. I want to bring the manufacture of those Concord trash bags into the city of Concord. I want to, find a storefront that the city or a facility like a warehouse, something that the city of Concord owns, and I want to RFP, bid out to trash bag manufacturers. I want to get them manufactured in Concord and ideally bring the cost of the trash bags down. Even if it doesn't offset the property taxes, I want to make that happen for the city of Concord.
Thank you. Byron?
That's another good question. We've been very fortunate. Over the last 10 years, we've had what has been described as a sweetheart deal with Casella. And Casella has taken care of all of our solid waste needs. Casella also has provided us with free recycling. That's going away because the recycling industry has changed. We have a 10-year contract that we've approved with Casella. There's going to be a 2-year pilot towards going to automated retrieval. That means that eventually, and this is because none of the bids that we received gave us any option other than eventually or immediately going to automated recovery, automated trash pickup, we're all going to have standardized bins that are going to be collected by a truck with one driver and an arm that picks them up off the sidewalk and empties them. We're going to phase that in with the help of Casella. One route will go through a pilot so we can figure out what the bugs are in that. I think that it is important for us to start reducing the waste stream. The purple bags have been a break on that, but the purple bags will likely go away with the new automated system. Time will tell. However, what we can do is to start to reduce the waste stream. The Solid Waste Committee has started to talk about encouraging composting, introducing a composting system. Something like 45% of the waste stream is food materials that could be composted. And the other aspect of this is, we can engage in education that can start during the pilot program for the new system. But ultimately, in terms of the budget, our city manager has been very skilled at presenting the city council every year with a budget that minimizes the increase in the tax rate. I would rely on him to come to us with a creative budget to continue to hold the tax rate down.
Thank you. Byron, give the voters of Concord 3 ideas on how to expand the tax base.
Sure. Well, first of all, I think that We've made a good start with the restructuring of our community development department. We've added a position. Matt Walsh has been promoted to be deputy director, deputy city manager for community development. And I think that that's going to be a powerhouse for economic development. One of the things that I would do would be to reinstitute a version of the Community Development Advisory Committee, rather the Economic Development Advisory Committee, on which I served when I first became involved with city government. Business leaders who can advise the city on how to move forward. I'd also reinstitute the mayor's visitation program, a business visitation program, which would have the mayor visiting with city economic development staff to talk with business owners, both here in Concord and also prospective new businesses coming into the city, to discuss what their needs are, how we can retain businesses, how we can attract new businesses. Finally, as a board member at the Chamber of Commerce during our strategic planning session this year, I recommended that the Chamber start a biennial state of the business report so that we can get a handle on a continuing basis on where we are, where we've been, and where we need to go in terms of business growth and development. I'm very happy to say that that suggestion was integrated into the Chamber's strategic plan for the coming year, and I hope we see that report coming out in 12 months.
I want to go to George, but just before, I missed the Friday morning economic development meetings. I found that those were really great meetings and great story ideas, and it had the ability to be able to connect not only the press and the public and government structures, but those were great meetings. They were a lot of great stories that came out of those meetings.
I agree 100%.
That's a great point. George, go ahead.
Sure. So one thing I want to help foster too, besides business development, so that's one thing, and it's great that there's an economic development program in place, but I want to make it even more active. I want to make it a guerrilla, grassroots one, getting really actively going around and saying, what's going on? How can we help you open a business in Concord? Communicating openly with landlords, developers of lands, like what kind of businesses would be great here? Like what can we fit in here? Like Jersey Mike's on Merchants Way. I want to attract more businesses like that. Also, I want to make Concord also a boutique city when it comes to cultural festivals. I know we've got the Multicultural Festival, but we've got this huge Nepalese population. And Manchester's got the Glendy for Greek people. Like, why can't we have a Glendy for Nepalese people? So I want to have more festivals. I want to have more happenings around the city of Concord to attract business to come and exhibit at these festivals, things like that. So those are a couple of things. I also want to get, if there is going to be a Greek festival like at the church, I want to go around to business and say, look, we've got a Greek festival coming, like Red River. Can you show some Greek movies? Like, how can we engage take these festivals, take these business happenings, and really make it immersive and make Concord, really make all these events shine and make people want to bring their events to Concord. The Everett Arena, why can't we partner with them to bring music acts there? Like let's talk to the Everett Arena owners and say, what can we do? Can we bring 10, 15, 20 musical acts here, fill the parking lots with people, fill the restaurants with people that are going to the show more? We've got the Capitol Center for the Arts, but we need to engage more arts that way too.
We have about just enough time for two quick questions, and they're both kind of complicated, so we'll take the first one, and I'm going to really wave my 1 minute wand here so we can get these two in, okay? Nobody knows that, I'm sorry. So crime has been increasing in the past 10 years or so. As I've said to some of the other candidates, from the Patch perspective of publishing every arrest, it used to be about 10 to 15 a week, and now we can be up to 30, 45, even more per week. But crimes among our homeless population have exploded. Last year, more than 20% of the arrests in the city were people who were homeless. Some of them were transient crimes, criminal trespass, warrants, and things like that. But others were not. Arson, drug dealing, major assaults, and even murders. Logan Clegg was just convicted of murdering the Reeds. He was a transient from the West Coast who was living here for months, and no one knew who he was or what he was doing. Many residents are also going to be calling you, even though you're volunteers, they're going to be calling you about camps on their property. If you have more than an acre, a lot of people, I hear it on the scanner all day long, are calling police because they have 5 acres and all of a sudden a camp shows up. Again, you're volunteers. There isn't much you can do. But someone has to do something about this. And George, let's go with you first in a minute. Tell people exactly what you'll do in the next 2 years to eliminate this problem for residents.
Sure. I mean, so we've got to really work with the state on this too, in terms of finding solutions to it, because some of the problems with people that are in homeless camps make them down to mental health issues, make them down to different things. So we need to humanely look at how we can we help individuals as well as the the entire community of homeless people. We need to figure out what city resources we can devote to getting homeless people out of camps or off of properties into environments where they can not be a force of discord for people, but to enrich them and better their own lives, and in the process better the lives of everybody. So we don't want people camping out on residences, properties or anything like that. So we want to look at how we can help individuals, and in helping individuals, we can make sure that we can get homeless people, quote, off the streets and into better help facilities.
Thank you. Byron?
You want a quick answer on a complex question?
You got 1 minute.
I tried,
I
but
think I know.
He did it in 56 seconds.
I think there are two parts to this question. One is the crime part. We can't tolerate criminal activity.
Right.
I think that our police department is working hard. They're hampered by the well-intentioned bail reform legislation that was passed in the State House several years ago. And so it's often the case when someone who is arrested is booked and then is back on the street. And sometimes that person is arrested multiple times. The second thing is that I think that we are going to make progress on that with the 2 police social workers that the City Council, that we approved funding for it in the current budget. Their job is in part to work with homeless populations, work with domestic violence situations, and things that can take pressure off the police so they can do straight law enforcement. Also, it's a challenge for, I think, one of the tools that we have that we can use in policing is the POP unit, the problem-oriented police unit. But every time we're low on officers, and in September we were 30% down on sworn officers, that unit is deactivated as those guys go on patrol. Relative to homelessness, the Concord Coalition to End Homelessness has housed 70 homeless individuals over the last 2 years. They've housed 26 this year. What is really needed is willing landlords with units that can help move people out of homelessness with supportive care, meaning a caseworker, and working on the issues that made them homeless. It's also important for us to understand, and I see Tony's finger, that the homeless population is not homogeneous. According to the school district, at least 114 children in the Concord School District, I don't know what the numbers are in Merrimack, are homeless as well. So we have to deal with these problems on an individual basis, or these homeless situations on an individual basis.
Thank you. Byron, let's get this one in 30 seconds. Last question. The city has spent around $140,000 designing a new multi-million-dollar clubhouse for the Beaver Meadow Golf Course. A major tenant that was going to lease space has backed out of the deal, so now the design's going to be tweaked. Some people think the golf course is extravagant. For the city to own a golf course is an extravagant thing. Some people think it's a community asset, like our pools and our new community center as well. Where do you come off on the golf course in 30 seconds? Where do you come out on the golf course improvements? Not about owning one, just about building a new clubhouse.
Well, I think that the golf course is an important asset, Tony. Just like the Everett Arena is an important asset. The golf course is, for the last several years, has been turning over a profit into the general fund, whereas the arena has not. I think that both of them are really important. The other thing about the clubhouse per se is that really is going to become a North End community center, and also a facility that's going to support the Concord High School cross-country team, because there's going to be part of that facility designated for their equipment, their supplies, changing rooms, and whatnot. And so really that's going to be a year-round facility that's going to benefit particularly our residents in the northern part of the city, wards 1, 2, and 3.
As well as 4, too.
As well as 4, where I live.
Yep. Thank you. George.
Well, it's going to benefit everybody. We want to make every facet of Concord as appealing as possible. Like Byron had said about the Everett Arena, absolutely. We want to make it ingrained in the community and improve it. So we want to also use the Concord Golf Course to attract charity golf events, professional golf tours, things like that. We want to doll it up and do outreach to all those kinds of organizations and say, here we have this wonderful, amazing facility, this golf course. Like, come have your what will it take to have your tournament here, and your advertisers? What will help bring the dollars in that way? So I would say it all needs to be improved continuously, and if we improve it, it's going to pay back tens of hundreds of folds.
Those are your two, or I should say, those are two of your three candidates for mayor. We're going to go to closing statements now. George, you go first this time.
Sure. Again, I want to thank Tony for having us here, and Byron for running too. He's great. Tony's great. The city of Concord's great. I am a longtime citizen of Concord. Just became a homeowner. That's one of the reasons I want to do. I've got a stake in this with everybody. I'm one of you. I've got great, fresh ideas. I want to take every iota of potential Concord has and grow it tons, so we can make it a safer occasion, a less. We want to take property taxes and lower them. We want to foster businesses. We want to do arts things like institute a Concord Poet Laureate and arts festivals, things like that. Again, I've got fresh ideas. I am so excited to be mayor, and I want to, and my campaign slogan is, I'm working on it. Please reach out to me. If you've got something we can't solve right away, like in customer service, we call it a first call resolution. We're working on it. We want to hear your ideas. We want to implement them. We're all in this together, seriously. So thanks to the city of Concord, and thanks to CCTV for having me.
Excellent. Thank you. Byron.
Well, thanks, Tony. I want to thank George, and I also want to thank Kate West for running for mayor. I think that all of us are motivated by a love of Concord and by an interest in how Concord enters the next era of its existence. I also want to thank Concord Patch and Concord TV for this opportunity once more. Concord, one of my constituents told me that Concord was a little city with a big heart, and I think that that's very, very true. While I've been canvassing, and previous to that, I talk all the time to people who come to the city, fall in love with our vibrant downtown and our neighborhoods, settle their families here, and then start to invest in our community. And I think that happens because we strive to be a city where the only limits on personal success are one's ambition and one's imagination, a city where everyone feels welcome and valued. Concord is in my heart. And I hope, if I'm elected your mayor, to devote all of my energy and much of my time to being your mayor and to focus on the needs and the growth of our city. It would be an honor to serve as your next mayor. And I just ask for you to give me your vote when you go to the polls on November 7th.
Well, it's pretty clear that we will have a very interesting new mayor in the next term if one of the gentlemen is elected. Voters go to the polls on election day, Tuesday, November 7th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at 10 polling locations around the city. Go to Concord, New Hampshire Patch for our voters guide, which will be up about a week before the election. For Concord TV and the New England Take podcast, I'm Tony Shinella. Thanks again for tuning in.